99%. Well, two big topics today. We'll start with taxation, and on the flip side, we'll take you back to the ongoing war, what it means for the business community, oil and gas sector, Nigeria as an oil-producing country, and all of it. But the West African Union of Tax Institutes, called WAUTI, it is an association of professional tax bodies with the within the ECOWAS sub-region, primarily focused on harmonizing tax practices, enhancing compliance, and developing the profession. Now, it fosters regional cooperation, sets professional standards, and advises on fiscal policies to support economic growth. Now, key roles and objectives of WAUTI, let me highlight some of them. Harmonization of tax practice, harmonizing tax practices, policies, and laws across West Africa to ensure a consistent, fair, and transparent system. Professional standards, promoting professional ethics, competence, integrity among tax practitioners while eliminating quackery in the sector. Policy development, providing inputs into government's budget, fiscal policies, including advising on tax measures for economic recovery and stability. Capacity building, enhancing knowledge of tax professionals through trainings, international conferences, and sharing best practices. Now, ahead of WAUTI's 12th CIAF AITC, which will hold in Senegal later in the month, I have live in the studio the president of the West African Union of Tax Institutes. He's also a tax practitioner who joins me. First, that's Mr. Samuel Agbeluyi. Dr. Yemi Sonny is also here. He is the honorary treasurer of WAUTI and also a member of the governing council of CITN. Mr. Agbeluyi is also a former president of the CITN, but I must thank you so much. They are coming in the capacity of WAUTI today to speak around this conference and what is happening around that space. Good afternoon. It's good to have you, Mr. President and Treasurer.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Tolu.
Thank you so much. Reading my intro, I'm thinking first, let me start from you. This practice or WAUTI as an institute, as an institution, as an association, I beg your pardon. Tell us more about what you do, the roles, and what is expected. That partnership thing across the African continent is interesting to me, but how well are we getting along with it?
Well, thank you very much. We have our leaders in CITN and the leaders in Ghana to thank for what we have today. About 15 years ago, they met and saw the need to have to harmonize tax practice administration in West Africa. And so the CITN reached out to CITG, the Standard Institute of Taxation Ghana, and they met. And the rest is what has led us here. It was just two member countries when the union started. It has grown to about 13, even though maybe about 10 are very active. Three are still we are still propping them to be as active as we want. So it's been a very good experience within the West African coast. We've had this conference that is coming up by the end of this month. Is the 12th in the series.
Wow. And
I must tell you, Nigeria has had the conference about 4-5 times, while we have had about 3 times in Ghana, twice in Senegal, once in Benin Republic, and once in Togo. So we rotate the conference amongst the member countries in the sub-region. And that has brought a lot of harmonization, as we have rightly read in the intro. It has brought a lot of harmonization into tax practice. We need to relate with ourselves more. It shouldn't be Nigeria relating with Great Britain, Senegal relating with France. We must relate with ourselves, we must trade with ourselves, and we must do things amongst ourselves. And that is some of the benefits we have derived in the past 14, 15 years, as the case may be.
Sounds good. I don't know, Dr. Sonny, maybe you have something to say around that relationship. I'm looking at professional standards across the board. How are we trying to maintain that?
Basically, that is why WAUTI was established.
Okay.
Each country has the way they have been going about their professional standards individually. But you find out that there is interaction amongst the West African states. And because each one stands in a silo, there's a need for us to harmonize and try to see, how are you doing yours? How are you doing yours? And let us see how the way we are doing ours in Nigeria interacts with the way they are doing theirs in Ghana. Don't forget that the professionalism that we're talking about here and the way the fiscal policy in Nigeria is, stands each country as a sovereign entity. As such, you cannot impose what is happening in Nigeria on Ghana. So what we need to do is to see how we can work together without eroding each other's sovereignty. And that is why the body has come together as WAUTI to be able to promote the professional standards that you have talked about.
Interesting stuff. Mr. President, that's why the theme is taxation, economic sovereignty in West Africa, harmonizing fiscal autonomy for inclusive growth. Are we harmonizing this fiscal autonomy across the board? We have our own tax laws in Nigeria now. Are we implementing same across the board?
Just like Yemi said, the sovereignty is always there. So Ghana will not take instruction from Nigeria. Neither will Nigeria take instruction from Togo. So, but we still need to harmonize. You see, the major challenge in West Africa has to do with our colonial master. Allegiance to Great Britain, allegiance to France. And I can tell you that it's even better for the Anglophone country. The attachment to the Francophone country to Paris is out of this world. And again, before now, taxation was just a kind of appendix of some disciplines. Are you talking of law? Are you talking of economics? Are you talking of accounting? But the time has come that nobody can say. I'll give you an example. Over 30 tertiary institutions in Nigeria are offering taxation as a course of study, meaning that it has become a discipline of its own. And so, while you are battling with reducing the colonial master's influence, you are also ensuring that the taxation as a discipline, as a profession, also takes shape. And so in Ghana is doing very well in this regard, Nigeria is doing very well in this regard, Senegal is doing very well in this regard, but we are not all at the same level of development and understanding. So we do a lot of peer review, what is happening in Ivory Coast, what is happening in other countries, so that we can know where to assist each other. By virtue of the cooperation and collaboration that is happening in WAUTI, when I was the president of CIT, Gambia sent about 3 batches of professionals to come and learn in Nigeria, because they could see that we are way ahead of them. So we are learning from each other, and so that is not to say that Nigeria knows everything. We also learn from them. We do a peer review, and I believe this has actually moved the practice of taxation within the sub-region to a very better level than what it used to be. And we just hope that we continue within this trajectory.
Well, I want you to also speak around that theme, because it's instructive. Taxation and economic sovereignty. Picked it from your point there, where you try to say that everyone you need to have your laws, but we could always consolidate, we could harmonize. I think that's the right word. So what do you make of this theme while we are driving towards that?
When you talk about harmonization, when tax is involved, tax policy, tax and fiscal policies are involved, and you do not want to erode another person's sovereignty, why the need for harmonization? Right? I will sum it up in an equation that 1 + 1 is equal to 10. So what does this mean? With harmonization, each sovereign entity is able to, one, work against harmful tax competition that most of the MNEs take advantage of by moving profit from one place to the other where the tax rates are better, right? So once you look at this, right, the multinationals multinational with no, I'm not implicating them in any form, you know, because they do a lot of tax planning. Because where cross-border is involved, they shop for tax treaties, they shop for where taxes, you know, are lower. So when they see a place where tax is lower, they move profit from the high tax place to the low tax place. But with harmonization, everybody comes together. We look at all the loopholes inherent in each other's laws, right, and see how they can use it, right, to ensure that everybody pays the right amount of tax that is due without eroding the revenue that you want to collect. And also, again, you do not want to put burden on the people that are dealing cross-border. Why? Because if there's no harmonization, that is when you talk about double taxation. Because I'll tax you in Togo for the same transaction, I'll tax you in Nigeria, because there is no harmonized tax policy. So that's where the harmonization comes into play, and everybody still maintains their sovereignty. And with that, you see that leakages are blocked. And when leakages are blocked, you earn more, I earn more than when I'm just, you know, on my own and, you know, working, you know, I'm not interested in what happens to you, whereas people will take advantage of that friction to be able to, for leakages.
So, Mr. President, do you think that harmonizing this laws and all this taxation practice across the board, do you think that can help also your own impact as an institute with regards to impact on budgets, fiscal policies across those countries? Can it impact it?
It will, and definitely it has always been. Previous conferences, we have zeroed in on how to make business transactions in the sub-region better. Because in any case, you don't start with taxation, you start with economics. The economics activities within the sub-region. How easy is it possible for a Nigerian to trade with somebody in Ivory Coast? Language barrier, cultural barrier, difference in currency. How easy is that? But fortunately, and this is very important to me, those people you look down upon, those people you think they are not educated, those people, the women in Balogun market, the guys in Ariala market, you need to find them, you need to see them in Ivory Coast, you need to see them in Togo, you need to see them in other places in West Africa. And so we first of all look at the economic activities. How do we make it seamless? If you want to transact within the sub-region, and this is where ECOWAS itself comes into play. ECOWAS is 50 years last year. Now, as ECOWAS achieved its objective, what led to the formation? Without putting the economic activities in proper shape, taxation is just a derivative, it's a follow-up to what economic activities derive. And when people prosper, when we can travel very well, if I can move from here to Gambia under 3-4 hours, instead of 1 day or 1.5 days, sleeping in Togo, sleeping in Ivory Coast, sleeping in other places before you get to your destination, Sierra Leone, and all those kind of things. If you can remove this barrier, then of course, we have good professionals across the region. And that is why we are talking. It's easy for us to harmonize our tax system. We just have a kind of major tsunami, if I can use that, in terms of our tax base in the country. And I tell you, other West African countries are observing. They could see what Nigeria is doing, and they could see how this is going to help them. So in picking the topic for this year's conference, in picking the facilitators, we have looked at how others can learn from the experience of Nigeria. Because I tell you, it's not easy putting that piece of law together. So, and professionals within the country, they change ideas to us from time to time. I say, well, are you sure you are going to achieve this? So, now that we have achieved it and we are at the point of implementation, we need to share that experience with people. So we have people from JTB in Nigeria, now they joined us Revenue Board. Now we have people from TAT from Nigeria who will also be sharing that experience. So without this information at the disposal of everybody, there's nothing to be harmonized. And so when you have the experience, it's a kind of refresher course, the conference we are having. So you know what is happening in Nigeria, you know what is happening in Ghana, and you know what is happening in other places. And we are not just limiting that ourselves to what is happening in West Africa, because taxation is international.
Yes, it is.
It is jurisdictional specific, and it's also international. You need to marry the two. So we have people from Global Tax Platform coming to address us. There's this great professor from Belgium, Professor Valente, who has agreed to join us to share his experience, the OECD experience, because it is not what we pay as tax in Nigeria. It's not just 100% what our tax law says. We also have, if we are engaged in international trade, then you must listen to OECD. You must listen to UN. So we are bringing all this experience, experienced people into the same room within 2 days to let us know what is the latest within the space of taxation. Because as we see in Nigeria, particularly those of us who are professional in Nigeria, taxation is dynamic. So you don't pride your certificate as I'm a fellow. I've been a fellow for the past 20 years, man. How fresh are you? So that is very important.
That's very important.
So that is key, and it is part of our focus to know how we can compare our experiences and make sure that we pick the right one from the international space, because it is not just everything that they dump at us that we accept. How Nigeria in the past 5 years or thereabout, when we talk of global minimum tax, how Nigeria has resisted the world, and at the time it was like Nigeria was a mad country. What did we know? But most of those countries who did not join Nigeria as at 5-6 years ago, when we said no to global minimum tax, the way it was crafted as at that time, they could see the benefit, they could see the wisdom behind the tax administrator in Nigeria saying no as at that time. So, but without this meeting, without this coming together, everybody will be working in silos, like Yemi said, and it won't benefit anybody. It does want to break the system, don't want you to sit down to talk. Because in your disharmony,
they thrive.
Yeah.
So, but by the time you have a change of information with Ghana, a change of information with other countries in West Africa. So, if you run from here, you're going to abuse something in Ghana, the information will move. Let me not say more in this regard.
So, what are your expectations at this forthcoming event? What are your expectations? What do you think will be some of the takeouts, expected takeouts?
You know, I keep saying this a lot of times when we're talking about problems of taxation. And when we're talking about problems that we're having in the area of taxation, whether within our jurisdiction or whether regionally, references majorly are being made to what is happening in the developed nations. But for me, I strongly believe that our problems should be solved the African way. I keep using this analogy to a lot of people. I say the most prevalent disease in Africa is malaria. However, if any one of us catches malaria now, you don't need to go to the hospital. You can treat yourself. Yes. You can decide to use herbs. But if you happen to travel to the United Kingdom or the United States and you have malaria, what will happen to you? You'll be quarantined, right? So meaning that they do not have a full understanding of our problems. So if they do not, how will they be able to solve our problems? So for this conference, it's an opportunity for us to come together, relay the problems that we have, and be able to bring our pantomimic heads together to see how we can solve our problems the African way. And like the president said, we have seasoned professionals who are going to be attending that conference to come and share their wealth of experience. We're going to be beginning from their repertoire of knowledge to be able to see and understand a whole lot of these issues. And I'm very sure it's going to be a thought-provoking and engaging one.
Not going to be a talk shop.
No, it's not just anything that you just come like, normal conference that you just, no, it's going to be a thought-provoking, and it's going to be a very rich program. Of course, that is going to lead to something, and that is the essence of the theme of this conference, which is happening Wednesday, 25th of March to Thursday, 26th of March in Senegal.
A parting shot from you, President.
Okay. Well, we have all the plans ready for you, including Tolu to be in Senegal. This conference is actually not taking place in Senegal. It's in Dakar, which is the capital of Senegal. Okay. It's taking place in a country, in one little island called Umbu. And if you need to get there, I've been there, and of course I inspected the hotel or the facility before we say yes that we can do this. So if you want to participate physically, $250. If you want to participate virtually, $100. And you get, or if you are participating virtually, you get all the benefit, except that you won't be sharing the me with us in Senegal, and you won't be exchanging your card. But you get the benefit, technical-wise, if you participate virtually. If you can't travel, then we still have opportunity for you.
I must thank you so much, President, West African Union of Tax Institutes. He's also a tax practitioner, former President, CITN, Samuel Agbeluyi, and Dr. Yemi Sonny, who's the Honorary Treasurer, WAUTI, member of the Governing Council of the CITN. Thank you so much. It's good to see you, as always. Thank you, Mr. President. It's always good to have you in.
Our pleasure.
Next, we are going to be having to access our tax laws and see where we are with regards to that.
Always available.
Thank you very much. All right, we will take a break. When we come back, we shift our focus to the global markets. Crude oil prices fall now. Stocks rise after Trump-Iran trade of words. Vice Chairman, African Energy Council, Dr. Chinan Dikwal is my guest. He joins me from Riyadh in Saudi Arabia. After this break, stay with us.
Every major news story is with many perspectives and layered with different levels of impact.
Hello. What time did this happen? We will be right there.
At TVC News, we follow the big and major news, gathering